I didn't mean to hit record that fast. Oh, damn it. Oh gosh, I'm so out of control. I guess that's okay. Hey y'all, it's Ashley at Bookish Realm, and I'm back with another video trying to hold my damn life together. I am 40 weeks officially. Baby girl's due date is in like 3 hours, and she's like, screw y'all, I'm not coming. So I thought I would do some bulk filming, so I'm probably gonna end up shooting quite a few videos, and like in shooting these videos I'm gonna have the same damn shirt on because I refuse. I'm already pregnant as hell. I can't wear anything anyway, so why not just wear the same shirt? So I'm here with a huge library book haul. With me officially being out on maternity leave, I thought it would be cool if I checked out a bunch of books to keep me occupied while I'm out on maternity leave. I'm having some awesome help from family and friends to kind of give me some breaks in between, because as you guys know, well, I think most everybody knows that since it'll just be me and baby girl, like everybody wants to help as much as possible, so I don't feel overwhelmed with it just being me and being a new mom. And so everybody's kind of helping out, and one of the things that I wanted to do to keep my mind as active and as clear as possible was to read. So of course everyone knows that I work at the library. That's not new information. I think everybody pretty much knows that at this point. I checked out a whole lot of books from the library to keep me occupied, and I'm keep looking this way because it looks like it's gotta be at least 20. I don't know if I'm gonna read all these because I think I have like 2.5 months for maternity leave. I don't know. Some of these I think I'm gonna get through, some of them I'm probably not gonna get through, but I have them separated into 3 different stacks. I have a couple of middle grade / children's. I have a handful of adults, and a huge stack of YA books, most of them being new releases, and others being some older titles that I just haven't had the time to read, so, and I want to catch up on them, and I wasn't about to buy all these books, like, balling on a budget. So let's go ahead and get started. The first book that I have here is The Dead Queens Club by Hannah Capin. And this is a book that is told about, it's about King Henry VIII's life, but it has been kind of altered to be in the era of like a high school, which I find very intriguing, and it's written in the perspective of Anne of Cleves. And she is talking about how 2 of Henry's previous girlfriends have completely died, and Henry can't possibly be responsible for their deaths. So this is going to be really interesting, considering Henry's like the popular guy, the jock of the school, and she ends up coming to this new town, and I think it's Lancaster High is the name of the school. So yeah, the name of the school is Lancaster High, which is very interesting. And if you're a history buff, you get that, or if you like have any history of like King Henry VIII, that would be amusing to you. And she ends up being his girlfriend randomly, but of course because of historical context, Anne of Cleves is, you know, his wife. I believe that's his last wife, if I'm not mistaken, 6th wife, and the one that does outlive him. So really interested in this. I have seen some reviews of it, some being kind of shaky, some saying that it was a little bit longer than what it should be because it is a chunky book. We're talking almost 500 pages. So, and I'm quick for calling out books and saying that they're too long. that they shouldn't be that long. The next one that we have here is Color Me In by Natasha Diaz, and I'm really interested in reading this one. This is a priority one for me because of the fact that this deals with a biracial main character, and I have not read a lot of YA books that deal with, I mean, the character may have been biracial, but that's not something that the book necessarily focuses on, and this one does. It's about a girl whose mom is black and her dad is Jewish, and she ends up, I believe, relocating to her mom's family home in Harlem, and she gets kind of a taste of their life experiences and what it's like for them and the prejudice that they face being of a darker complexion. So I feel like she's gonna kind of touch on colorism as well, and how that affects people's experiences, life experiences, especially people of color. And it really is a book, it seems, about that seems to focus on identity, which I'm becoming a huge fan of. Books that talk about identity, whether you're a person of color or not. Identity has been something that has now grown very, very important to me, and I don't know if it's because I'm having a child and I'm interested to see, you know, how she is going to identify herself, but just in general, interesting concept. And she doesn't really speak out. The main character doesn't speak out, and her name is Nevaeh. And I always wanted to name, if I had a girl, I'll name her Nevaeh, and I did name my baby girl Nevaeh. Nevaeh is heaven spelled backwards. But Nevaeh is typically quiet about a lot of things. Like her dad wants her to have a bar mitzvah as a substitute for her sweet 16, and she kind of doesn't want to, but she doesn't say anything. But when she starts realizing that her family members are going through a lot of injustices that she wasn't necessarily aware of, she starts to learn that she has a voice and she needs to use it. So this is definitely a high priority one for me to read. The next one that I have here is American Royals by Catherine McGee, and I've heard some mixed things about this. I forget who mentioned this. Somebody had got an arc of this, and if you watch this video in issue, please comment down in the box below, or I will try to put their link down to the channel if I can remember who said it. But I was watching someone who read this book, and they got an arc of it, and they said that the issue that they had with this was that it didn't address the cultural issues of the time. So this is a story about what would have happened if George Washington wasn't the first president, but he was the first king of the United States, and his royal family that falls after him. So there were some cultural things I heard that weren't handled at all, and it didn't make sense for them not to be handled. But then I also heard that they were handled in the finished copy, not in the arc. So we'll see. And I don't think there's really not much plot-wise that I got from reading it, except from the fact that it deals with America having a royal family as opposed to a president. The next book that I have here is Enchantée, and it's either by Gita or Gita Trelease. I should have looked up her name before, I apologize. But this is a book that deals with magic, takes place in Paris, and it's about a girl who has access to magic, is not supposed to use it, but she ends up in a difficult situation when she's left to take care of her sister and her brother, and she was manipulating metal to turn it into money so that they could survive, and something goes wrong. I think her brother goes missing, and then she kind of uses magic to disguise herself as a baroness. And when she does this, she enters into Versailles, and this is during the reign of King Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette. And they are probably, outside of English monarchy, when it comes to French monarchy, I'm very, very interested in three monarchs in particular. Louis XIV, because he was responsible for the expansion and the luxury that went behind Versailles, and then Louis XVI and his wife Marie Antoinette, because of the luxury in which they lived while Paris was undergoing this huge revolution. And that historical aspect is a part of this book, where she disguises herself, gets lost in this whole world of royalty, but then as a revolution takes place, she has to make decisions whether she wants to be a part of this world or she wants to be a part of the revolution. And that's a tricky situation to be in, because the revolution was no joke when Paris went through, or when France went through their revolution. I mean, as we know, Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette both lost their heads. So, I mean, if that tells you anything about the revolution at all, they both met Madame Guillotine. So I have two, the next two books are by the same author, Rachel Hawkins. The first one is Rebel Belle, and the second one is Royals. I believe that this one has a different publication name, Prince Charming, I believe, in the UK and other places, whereas Royals is the title here. Rebel Belle, I have been meaning to read for a while, but I haven't heard so great things about this series, and I can see why. It's a girl who has a weird encounter, gets these powers, and is made to protect this guy who she doesn't really like. But I heard that this wasn't really that good. The series wasn't that good, and I wanted to read it because I read Rachel Hawkins' other series, which of course, now that I need to know the name of it, I'm never going to remember it, and I'm going to sit here and look in these books and like, what other series did Rachel Hawkins write? It is the Demon Glass, that series. I'm going to look it up because it's going to piss me off if I don't. See, Hex Hall series by Rachel Hawkins, which I don't think a lot of people still read. I had that entire series at one time. I'm about to reorder it because it was one of my favorite paranormal series that I read back in like 2014, 2015. Really, really enjoyed it. I read the entire trilogy, and I think there is a fourth book that fits into it somehow. But I thought that I would pick the two of these up and maybe see. I heard that a lot of people do enjoy Royals, so that's definitely going to have probably some better reviews than Rebel Belle. The next book that I have here is The Last Bus to Everland by Sophie Cameron, and this is about a guy who ends up, it's like a portal story, which seemed to be getting more traction now. They've always had traction in the past, but it seems like everybody's doing like a reimagining of portal stories. It's a guy who meets another guy, and he teaches him how to use this portal. It only opens up at a specific time once a week on Thursdays, and he escapes to Neverland, and he has some tough decisions to make when the portal begins to close. So he has to either decide whether he wants to go to, and I keep saying Neverland, but whether he wants to go to Everland or whether he wants to remain in the real world with people that he knows. And I wonder if Everland is going to encompass different aspects of portal worlds, like ones that we see in Alice in Wonderland, ones that we've seen like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Never Neverland, like stuff like that, where kids end up getting whisked away to different lands. I'll be really interested in seeing how this one goes. The next one that I have here is Wilder Girls by Rory Power. And is it Power or Powers? No, it's Rory Power. And this is one that everybody has pretty much seen. Like, everybody is pretty much reading Wilder Girls. This is one of the more popular 2019 YA releases. There's these group of girls that are quarantined at their school after the pox breaks out, and they're not supposed to leave their school, not supposed to go into the forest. But one of the girls ends up going missing. The main character is set on finding her, and she learns a lot more about what has happened to them than what she has been told. So I haven't read I don't think I've ever read like an epidemic type of story. So this is going to be interesting for me. I'm going to have fun with this one. I'm going to be interested in seeing, I've heard good and bad things about it. So we'll see when I get to it. This next one, of course, is another one that a lot of people have been reading, and it's The Kingdom by Jess Rothenberg. And The Kingdom is about an android who works at this fantasy-like theme park. Her name is Anna, and I think she presumably has a relationship or is interested in this guy named Owen. And then Owen ends up missing and is presumed to be dead, and everything and everyone is pointing to Anna as the one who is responsible for this. And I think this is a great debate over artificial intelligence and whether artificial intelligence is lifelike or not. It is lifelike, but whether it should be considered human or not when it comes down to situations like this, because they're not technically humans. So I think this cover is gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. And I've heard people say that it was an okay book. I've heard some critical things about it, but this is one that I definitely want to focus on picking up while I'm out on maternity leave. The next one that I have here is Stepsister by Jennifer Donnelly. This is a twisted version. It's not a twisted version because it is the actual version of close to the Grimm fairy tale version of a Cinderella, in which the stepsister cuts off her toes in order to fit her foot within the glass slipper. And this book is actually told from the perspective of that stepsister who did so, who cut off her toes in order to fit her foot in the glass slipper. The prince finds out, she's shunned, you know, people talk trash, and it's about woman empowerment, I believe. From the context that I got from reading it, it seems that way. I haven't seen a lot of people read this one, but those who have read it have really enjoyed it, so I'm looking forward to picking it up. Next, I have The Revolution of Bertie Randolph by Brandy Colbert. This is about a young girl who is the perfect daughter, and her name is Dove. She goes by the nickname of Bertie. She follows everything that her parents have laid out for her, but then she meets this guy that she likes, that she's, you know, falling for, that she knows her parents won't approve of. And then she has a relative, which turns out to be her aunt, who comes to the family's apartment, and she's been helping from rehab to center to rehab center. And of course, I'm sure that brings forward some really dark revelations. And I think it's going to be a coming of age type of tale, and how to deal with family in tough situations. So I haven't seen anyone talk about this one just yet, so I don't have any kind of premise on what it's about, but I am excited to read it. Next, I have Lovely War by Julie Berry, and this is a book that focuses on 4 different characters during World War I and World War II, but it is told from the perspective of Aphrodite, who is telling these tales on Mount Olympus, and her fate is based on how she tells these tales. I am a huge mythology type of person, and I feel like this is going to be sad because she is the goddess of love, and I just feel like things are going to go kind of rough in this one. So I'm definitely looking forward to picking it up. Looks like it's going to be a great historical fiction novel. And the last YA book that I have in this haul, yes, I still have middle grade and adult to go through, but not as much as those. Not as much of those as this YA group. And it is Heroine by Mindy McGinnis. And it's about a girl who ends up injured, and she plays softball. And she's prescribed opioids to help her in her healing process. But of course, as things happen, she ends up getting addicted to the opioids. I think she ends up mixing with the wrong crowd, and she starts indulging in other things. And I think this is a perfect time, since this country is going through a huge opioid crisis. I think this will be great. This is one that I'm really adamant about picking up before I come back from maternity leave, because I think that it's going to be phenomenal. Okay, so the next books that I'm going to do are the adult books, and these are ones that I'm not going to really go into any explanation of because they've been talked about all over BookTube, and there's no need for me to explain. There's one that I will explain because 9 times out of 10, a lot of people have never heard of it. But the first one that I have is Margot Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale. This I wanted to read. Testament just came out. And I still haven't read Handmaid's Tale, haven't watched a TV show, so this is one that is high priority. I also have Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. I did start reading the ebook version of this, but I had to return it and there was a hold on it, so I couldn't recheck it back out. But then I realized that my library had a lot of physical copies that I could get, and I don't know why it took me forever, like, I don't know, pregnancy brain. We're just gonna say pregnancy brain. Everybody knows what this is about. I've seen the movie like dozens of, I love the movie. The movie's amazing. So I was like, I need to read the freaking book because the movie was fantastic. And then I have the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. I'm like the last person on the planet to finally pick this up. And this is the first in the Broken Earth trilogy, which everybody loves. I know this is written in a funny perspective. I think it's written in second person. So she says you, which I think is always difficult to read, especially in books. Second books written in second person are very, very strange because we're used to first or third person. So I'm excited to pick this up, and I want to see if I can get adjusted to that second person narrative. The last adult book that I have checked out is Flip for Murder by Maddie Day. This is a cozy mystery that I thought would be fun to read. Typical main character moves back to a hometown, opens up a kind of like a restaurant, but not really a restaurant, a country store. So when I think of this, I think like Cracker Barrel type of thing, but on a smaller scale. And of course, someone ends up dead and she has to figure out who killed who so she's not held responsible. You know, your typical cozy mystery formula. And the last two on my list are both middle grade, and ironically they both end up dealing with two main characters who have to move to New York and learn things about New York that they did not expect because they're from different places. The first main character, it doesn't say where she's from, but she's visiting her dad's family in New York City, and the second main character is coming from Alabama. So it is Some Places More Than Others by Renee Watson, and then My Life as an Ice Cream Sandwich by E.B. Zaboy. So I have read a book by E.B. Zaboy. It was American Street. I still have not read Pride. I should be ashamed of myself. I still haven't read Pride. But I'm excited to pick up both of these because they both speak to the experiences of two young girls who are going to New York, who are learning things about New York that they did not know, and they learn stuff about themselves. So these two middle grade books, they're really, really small. I could read probably both of these in one sitting. So I'm definitely gonna get to these before. All right, y'all, so that's it. That is my library book haul. It's fairly long. I didn't realize that I did realize I hauled that much. Who am I kidding? I put everything on hold. So I knew I was getting this much stuff, but I knew that I wasn't gonna be able to visit my library while I was out on maternity leave. So with that being said, I was like, yes, I'll be able to just have these books on hand for me to read. I don't expect to read all of them. That would be insane for me to expect to read all of them in such a short period of time. But I wanted to have a nice selection to choose from outside of even my own physical collection, because I do during the month read about an even, it's usually pretty much half and half between library books and books that I own in my collection. So of course I need to have some library books on hand. It's natural. All right, y'all, if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content from me, click the subscribe button. If you're interested in following me on social media, all of my links will be down in the description box below. Hit the bell for notifications of when I upload new videos. As always, I hope you guys have a wonderful evening, and I'll be back with another video soon. Bye.